Hello everyone. This is going to be a continuation of my previous video on how to create a simple MVC application using Visual Studio C#. I think, I'm using 2017, but it should apply to other versions too, with slight differences. Anyway, what I want to do today is to add on top of my simple MVC application to have connectivity to a database without using Entity Framework. I have another video on MVC with Entity Framework, and if you are interested in using Entity Framework with MVC, I refer you to the other video. But this one is MVC with simple access to a database, SQL Server database, without using Entity Framework. So let me start with the previous video that I've shown with the other project, and this is basically the application that has a couple of pages. I have two views over here. Let's go back to here. The two views, index and say good morning. I pass the parameter back and forth, and basically just say hello there, and to say good morning, Ben, and submit. So I can pass the parameter to Ben and so on. So very simple MVC application. Okay, so what I want to do is to have this application have another page connect to a database. So I will want to start with my controller. All right, so I'm going to add a new action. Let's call it show publisher. I have a publisher database, the publisher tables. All right, and what I'm going to do is to I have a bunch of code ready for it, but before I put a code in here, I need to create a view to handle whatever this controller is going to generate the data for. And before I create a view, I'm going to set up a model so that I can work with the data. So I can pass the data from the database to the model, which is a class declaration. And then that model is going to be used in the view. So before I do anything, I'm going to create a new model, add a new item. This is going to be a C# class. So I'm going to call this a publisher class. All right, so there it is, and I'm going to just have a couple of declaration here, name and city. Let's say I just want to have a name and city added to here. So I've prepared this two attributes for the publisher class. All right. Okay, now for the controller, so I'm not going to type the code over here, but I'm just going to copy this, and I'll talk about this in a minute. So basically, what I'm going to do is to create a collection of publishers, right? Based on the publisher class that I just declared, is a list of publishers, all right? And I'm going to create a connection, SQL connection. I'm going to resolve this. Actually, this is the easiest way to do this. Hover on top of this, show potential fixes, and I'm basically going to be using System Data Client to resolve this SQL connection. I'm going to select all the columns from publishers based on my connection string. All right, you can put in your connection string here, your traditional SQL Server connection string to connect to a database. Prepare a table. Oops, again, I'm going to use this help to declare the data table. that I'm going to use to collect the data coming from this SQL string, and then having the SQL data adapter to talk to my database, get the query going with the connection, and then fill it with this data table with the data. And then for each row in that data set that's being returned, I'm going to create a instance of the publisher, get the pub name and the city into the different attributes, and add it to this class. All right. So I'm going to pass this into a view, and this view is going to have the model which has the list of publishers included. All right, so I'm going to add into this view. So I'm going to use the same controller name, show pub. I'm going to use a model, and then I'm going to show the list, and which model I'm going to use publisher that I just created in my models. All right, and that's it. I'm not going to bother with any of the other layout and so on. Okay, so it's going to create this show pub CS_HTML. All right, so without doing anything else, let's try to run this. So a couple of things that I did. One is to create the model, the class for the data to be passed on into my view. The controller is being set up now to handle this new page, show pub. It's going to go and talk to the database, put it into a data table, and pump it into the show pub.cs_HTML, which is your view. And once the data is there you go. All right. So just to clean up a little bit over here, your CS_HTML does not need this create table, all right, because in my session I'm not allowing the table to be updated, and then I don't want any of this insert, update, and delete. Let me just get rid of that, and so I'm done. All right, so that's your view with your column name and city and the data coming from the model. So all these have been populated for you in when you create a view. And lastly, what I did was that I in my controller I also create a view over here in case something goes wrong, is an error. So I'm going to add a new view. Let me just call it error. All right, nothing that I'm going to add to my layout and the page, and all I'm saying is that error in connecting to database, just in case that I messed up. So in case my database is not available, so as for instance, for example here, I type in the wrong thing, com1631, right, instead of 30. When I run this, so it's trying to connect to incorrectly specified database. I have to go back to the correct. All right, say let me go to home, show pub. I'm just trying to do the connection there, and then it'll realize that there's no such database, and then it says error in connecting to database. Okay, otherwise if I stop it over here, put it back into 1630 in the home page, Let me just add a couple of BRs over here. View, actually I want to go to show publishers, and as H3 as an anchor. So if I do that, I just have a link to home show pub, actually to the controller. So from home index, I have my regular links to my say hello, say good morning, and then show publishers. I don't want to translate this page, and there you go. All right. So MVC does not necessarily have to have entity framework to access the database. If you just want to have a quick, simple connection using your C# coding, it can be done quite easily. All right. Thanks for watching.